Hey everyone, it's Joe Waxman, and today I want to look at the chart of Michael Jordan, famous basketball player. Um, yeah, I'm not going to waste any time. Let's just jump right into it. Okay, Michael Jordan's chart is well, it's not as obvious as some of the other charts that I looked at, but it is an interesting chart, so I wanted to try and break it down. Um, okay, so first off, Cancer ascendant and Moon rules Cancer. It's in the sixth house. Okay, so his ascendant lord is Moon in the sixth house. Sixth house is the house of competition. So naturally, we see that he's very competitive. And right off the bat, we can just see like loads of red lines, right? And you see this often with people who are just naturally fighters. Um, what comes to mind also is something like Bruce Lee's chart, tons of squares in it. And I just also did the chart of Colonel Sanders, tons of squares again. And he had a very difficult life up until he succeeded. Um, Michael Jordan had pretty good success early on, although he just got better and better as time went on with his basketball career. But so Moon in the sixth house, so he's very competitive. Sixth house is the house of competition, among other things. But here, competition. Sagittarius is a fire sign, so very fiery, passionate. Moon. Moon also here is conjunct um, Antares, which is the heart of the Scorpio. It's one of the most um, notable fixed stars for like war and aggression. It's a very strong, powerful star. So that also adds to his fighting spirit. His moon is also square Chiron, you can see here in Pisces. And that is going to be very painful. And again, it's going to spur him on to try harder, to do better, to train more, to just defeat his enemies even more, because there's a lot of pain, a lot of Chiron gives a kind of like not only pain but like outcast feeling of being different and outcast and weird, especially with the square aspect there. So yeah, he's very driven to succeed. The dispositor of Moon and Sagittarius is Jupiter. Jupiter is in domicile in Pisces, conjunct the MC. So that's very powerful. Right there, we get with the this energy flow from the ascendant to the sixth house to the MC. We can see that he's bringing competition into his career. He's making a career out of competition and fighting. And Jupiter is often associated with sports because it is very fiery, very big. It's not only sports, Mars is typically the most, the planet that we look to for sports and athletics and things like that. But Mars and Jupiter both rule fire signs. Jupiter rules dual signs, Pisces and Sagittarius, and so does Mars. Mars rules Aries and Scorpio. But yeah, both Mars and Jupiter can indicate athletics. So Jupiter is strong here, right? Let's see, Sun is in Aquarius. It's pretty much conjunct the ninth house cusp. So that's very much ninth house. And the MC is also in the ninth whole sign house. And the ninth house is about well, lots of things: religion, philosophy, higher studies, but also adventures. It's a very adventurous house, and I don't know if this is the reason they call him Air Jordan, because long distance travel, you get dunked from the free throw line. But anyway, Jupiter is very big, so there's something there. Jupiter and Pisces. Um, yeah, so Sun in Aquarius is just a out of the box. I mean, I don't know how much that is really a part of things. Saturn, it's good. Saturn, its ruler, one of its rulers is in Aquarius, so Saturn's in good dignity here. More in the eighth house, Saturn. And oh, by the way, so Sun is a sesquiquadrate. It's a square and a half to the ascendant. So that also is like similar to square energy. So it's you know, again, challenging position. And then Saturn in the eighth house is well, it's in good dignity here, but Saturn in the eighth house here, eighth house is you know, crisis, death, rebirth, but also about power and control. And you know, a good Saturn here would indicate a very strong discipline, but also with wanting the energy towards power and control. I mean, it's a very dominant position, especially in good dignity, this Saturn, because it has that Scorpio influence. And Scorpio is very, and one of the things about Scorpio is it's very vengeful. This isn't Scorpio, it's Aquarius, but it is eighth house. So it has this very deep quality. And wanting that, you know, typically we would say other people's resources, other people's money, but it's also about other people power and control, like the control aspect and power, and the Saturn being the planet of discipline and structure means it's going to work really hard, and he's going to be very disciplined, and he's going to have a I don't know if it's vengeance, but he's gonna work with he's gonna train with a vengeance. He's gonna discipline himself with a vengeance. Like he's going to take that eighth house depth and wanting to control and power and a very strong ability to be disciplined, really use it to his advantage. It's also square Neptune here. Neptune's in the fifth house in Scorpio. So here we do have the Scorpio element in the fifth house. The fifth house is a house of creativity and fun and games. Sports are often seen by the fifth house, fifth and sixth, because sixth is more competition, fifth is more like games. Basketball is a game. Neptune is not a very physical planet, but it is a very creative and stylish planet. So being in the fifth house, you know, if I, you know, sports aside, Neptune in the fifth house, I would say, well, that's a very creative position. And in Scorpio, it gives it this like dark heaviness, like a deep creativity. Deep. So anyway, I think this is one of the reasons, you know, this position alone, never mind the square. Michael Jordan has this allure about him because it's a very stylish, creative position. He's playing sports with a Neptunian influence. Not only that, Neptune's very slow. It's not considered stationary, but it's very slow. I can show you Neptune here. -1 days, it goes completely stationary. So in 1 day, it would have been completely stationary. That's a very powerful Neptune. It's just giving him a lot of creativity. I know there's like, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of room for creativity in a sport like basketball, but whatever creativity there is, it's going to show up in a player in subtle ways. And Michael Jordan had that. He was creative. He did. I mean, I wasn't a well, when I was young, I was into basketball. And there were some he would just do some moves that just had people in awe. Like he would go for a dunk and then he switched it up midair. Like you have time to do that while you're in the air. Like I don't know if you try jumping, see how much time you have to change your mind and refashion whatever. It's like he was just floating in air, dancing in the air, and he's going for the dunk, then he changes it and goes for a side layup, a weird. That's very much Neptune and Neptune in the fifth, and then the Scorpio is just adding another dimension to it, and then the square, the Saturn, it's just all adding up to this tension that Michael Jordan had within him that enabled him to get better and better and better. He had Mars in Leo, and I can tell you Mars in Leo fights with a vengeance because there's so much pride that if there's ever, and I know that one of his coaches, when he was young in basketball or something, was hard on him or said something "Oh, you're never gonna make it big" or something like that. That stuck with him. That wounded his pride, and you can see that in these squares. That's probably this Chiron square moon, right? And that he's just gonna use that in his Mars and Leo, because I know, because I have Mars and Leo. Just forget it. If pride is wounded, that Mars will go and practice and work out and do everything just to sort of redeem itself and make itself that much more strong and skilled. And Mars and Leo is so prideful. Leo one of the things Leo represents is strength. And Mars and Leo really embodies that strength, even in some ways more than the sun, because the sun is all about ego and attention and the personality. It's the king. Mars in Leo really brings out the strength of Leo, the courage of Leo, the fighting for pride, dominance. Leo has this very aggressive side to it that Mars really embodies. Mars and Leo can be very aggressive, very dominating. It's got a really nice trine to the moon. That's nice. That's so. Then if he's wounded by this Chiron square to the moon, then that's going to translate really well into his Mars in Leo. And you can see that here, the Chiron also is what aspect is that? Oh, that's quincunx in conjunct. So yeah, that's perfectly in conjunct. So yeah, any wounds that he has is going to go right into this Mars, and he's just going to dominate as much as he can with his physicality. He probably trained like a madman just to be better than everyone, just because he needed that. He was wounded emotionally, and then he's just I'm just gonna beat everyone. I'm gonna be the best. That's what Mars and Leo wants. It's that pride. And in the second house, the second house is not an obvious house for an athletic Mars, in my opinion. But it does have to do with values and self-esteem and self-worth. So here you can really see, if you put those two things together, you can really feel that Martian pride coming together, self-worth, self-esteem, self-value, and then the pride of Leo, and then Mars, and then the emotional wounds and Chiron. You can just feel it. Oh my God, this Mars is gonna go, train nonstop till it's just the best of the best, right? And I think he did that. And then if you look here, We have South Node conjunct Mercury, and it's out of sign, but it's still very close by proximity. So, and then Mercury is ruling, it's not the third house cusp, but it's so damn close to the third house. Well, pretty much the whole third house is in Virgo, that it's basically ruling the third house and the 12th house. And then the third house has Uranus and Neptune in Virgo. This was the 60s. He was born in 63. So they're coming close together. This is a very powerful conjunction. Third house, skills of the hands. South Node conjunct Mercury. Mercury already represents skills of the hands, but it doubly represents skills of the hands. And South Node is what we come in this world with, the skills that we have natally. So he was born very skilled with his hands. And basketball, you do with your hands. I mean, it's obviously a whole body thing, but like you hold the ball with your hands, you're shoot with your hands. He's very, very skilled with his hands, right? Because of this South Node conjunct Mercury ruling the third house, and the third house having this conjunction of Pluto and Uranus. Pluto and Uranus together, very dynamic, very powerful. It's just one of those things. It translates to wherever it is. Obviously it's in the third house here, so skills of the hands. Yeah, and then something else is really interesting happening here. Mercury is in not only Saturn's sign, and Saturn is in good dignity here, but Uranus. And Uranus is in Mercury's sign. And you're like, okay, well, that is a mutual reception, but wait a minute. This is not a good, these are in conjunct, but in conjunct by almost by 1 degree. So there is a kind of very odd mutual reception here that by in conjunction, quincunx, 150 degrees. So that's very odd, but it still works. And so it's 8th house and 3rd house. 3rd house is the house of courage, by the way. So it's a very courageous house. And 8th house, again, that Saturnian, it's a very, Saturn in the 8th house is very serious, right? Because 8th house already is very heavy. And Saturn is a very serious planet. And when it's good dignity, then it's like, in a good way, very serious and hardworking. And you're trading, I mean, you're trading houses here. So this is really powerful because you got the South Node Mercury, Uranus, Pluto, and then the trading, it's giving Mercury and Uranus a lot more dignity, right? So this is very dignified here. It's really quite impressive. And we'd want to, this is the house we'd want to see very, exceptional something, third house, because skills of the hands. So we're seeing that, right? And this 8th house is something that you probably wouldn't expect. I wouldn't expect it, but that just adds to like the depth and seriousness that he was training with and that he was bringing to his sport, to his game, to his athleticism. The intensity and depth of the 8th house. Right. What else can we say? Mercury is ruling the 12th house in Gemini. And again, that's just adding to the creative element. There's no planets here, so it's not going to be as influential, but 12th house is a house of creativity along with the 5th house. Yeah. And this Neptune also is trine the ascendant, so that's quite good. Let's see. Mars is opposite the sun by sign, but degrees are kind of far off, so you know that's not as pertinent. Um, what else? Oh, Venus is in Capricorn. Well, Venus is in Capricorn. Okay. Well, the guy's worth 2.1 billion or something like that. Like he's a billion, not a million, a billion. He's rich. He's probably the I mean, he's considered not only the greatest basketball player of all time, but one of the greatest athletes of all time. And he's one of the richest athletes of all time too. His Air Jordans are, I mean, I remember when they came out, they were popular right away. They're still popular. They're still one of the most popular sneakers ever. People still wear original Air Jordans. Um, and so, Venus and Capricorn in the seventh house of business. So obviously he likes his women. I never heard anything negative about him and women. If anyone knows better than that, maybe there has been, often sports stars have their, you know, um, talk of, like women, all sorts of stuff with women, you name it. I mean, false accusations, real accusations, all kinds of stuff. I think he likes his women, but he also likes his money. Venus and Capricorn likes money, likes success, and he's a businessman too. He owns a basketball team, and he's had tons of endorsements, sports endorsements, Nike, all that. That's very much Venus and Capricorn in the seventh house. Very business oriented, very rich, very good businessman, as well as a sports, king of basketball, Air Jordan. He also has a liking for gambling, and that's fifth house. And apparently losing money, that's definitely Neptune and Scorpio in the fifth house. He likes to gamble and he likes to lose money in gambling. He probably likes to win money at gambling, but Neptune is generally much more about loss, and fifth house definitely is gambling. So that's interesting. Yeah, what else? What else? Um, that's all I can really think of. Um, yeah, don't know what else to say about Michael Jordan, except that, again, not the easiest chart in the world. He's definitely talented, extremely talented, but a lot of it came from hard work, right? With all these squares, you can see that wasn't, blue trines and sextiles are more like innate skills. Also, South Node conjunct, whatever planet it is, especially if it's in good dignity. But the red, all the thick red lines, that's difficulty, that's challenges, that's hard work. So, it doesn't all come easy and natural. Sometimes like we just gotta work really, really hard and then we succeed. Like Bruce Lee also, like I said, and Colonel Sanders. So guys, that's pretty much it. I didn't even talk about North Node and Cancer, but obviously that's when he was a little bit older. His basketball career was over already, but still making tons of money, and endorsements and just being, you know, um, Cancer. I think that's probably when he, was already a billionaire and bought a basketball team and just living it up. Being Michael Jordan. North Node in the first house is very much about the self. It's about self mastery. I mean, in the lower expression, it could be narcissism, but really it's about getting to know yourself and becoming your own independent person. And yeah, so I think, as he gets older, that's really what he's all about. So that's it for Michael Jordan. I wanted to try and break this down because it is a little bit, it is a little bit more of a challenging chart. Some charts are more obvious and easy to read. Some are a little more less obvious. little more or less obvious. Also, the other thing that Mars is retrograde, and since Mars is such a physical planet, that the retrograde really gets him to. I think this would make him practice again and again and again, because that retrograde is like going backwards. And if Mars is physicality, then it's like, you know, he's just doing it over and over and over and over again, repeating. And that's how he's getting to become better and better and better and better. Because he didn't start out the best. Like he wasn't bad. It's not like he was bad, but he wasn't the Michael Jordan, he wasn't the GOAT, you know. He didn't start out that way. He had to work his way up. So again, it's just reinforcing this thing that we can have talents, we can have skills, but we still need to work our butt off to get to, you know, if we want to become the best, it's going to take a lot of hard work for all of us. All right, so that's pretty much it, guys. Thanks, and I will see you again soon. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you want to book a reading, go to my website, macroastrology.com, or email me at macrogoldmachine@yahoo.com. That's it for now. Thanks. Bye.